Well, when it comes to shooting yourself in the foot, just ask an NC State football fan. We know a thing or two because we've seen a thing or two.
You are Locked On Wolfpack, your daily podcast on the NC State Wolfpack, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's up, Wolfpack Nation? It's time to get locked in with Locked On. Thanks for making Locked On Wolfpack your first listen each and every day. We are free and available wherever you get your podcast and on YouTube, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. This is our Sunday post-game live show following the 45-33 loss in Durham against Duke on Saturday. This will also serve as our Monday episode, so hello to all. This live show is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can bet just $5, and if that $5 bet wins, you'll get $300 back in bonus bets guaranteed. Download the app today or head to FanDuel.com in order to get started. What's up, Wolfpack Nation? As always, I am Grayson Boone, joined by former Wolfpack defensive tackle Kenton Gibbs. Recording this here on Sunday. As I mentioned, this will also be our Monday show. Extremely disappointing loss in Durham at the hands of the Duke Blue Devils on Saturday. 45-33. What started off as basically as good as you could have, a 75-yard bubble screen to the dismay of the NC State fans that went for a touchdown, then got out to a 20-7 lead there in the second quarter. To watch that slip away and to ultimately watch what we saw in the second half, it seemed to be the manifestation of all the things that we've been warning NC State fans about, even in the 3 wins that we had to start the season. The third down defense, although it was actually our third down conversion rate was better than Duke, the plays specifically that we gave up on third down were completely detrimental. The turnovers for NC State, 4 turnovers. It's hard to beat anyone turning the ball over 4 times, especially a team like Duke. Credit to Duke. They took advantage of what we gave them, and that is how they won the ball game. The offense was great. The defense was horrible. And ultimately, you get what you get when you throw all those ingredients in and you take it out of the oven. 45-33 loss. Kenton, your initial thoughts?
I mean, another thing, the turnovers to me was a newer phenomena for this team. But one thing that was old hat, special teams blunders.
My goodness.
Multiple special teams blunders that hurt us in such a meaningful way. Everybody talks about a lack of urgency on that long 90-something or 70-something yard drive towards the end of the game. We should not have – actually, I believe it was 90-something. We shouldn't have had to drive that long because we should tell our returners, heels on the 10, heels on the 10-yard line. And if that ball is going any higher than your shoulder, it does not matter if they are coming down to cover it and you think that we're going to sacrifice a couple of yards here. Let it bounce. If you're standing at the 10, and let's say the returner is about 5'10" or whatever the case may be, 5'9", whatever the case, and it's going higher than your shoulder, a yard is 3 feet. If you are 5'9", 5'10", and it's higher than your shoulder, it's at least traveling 2 to 3 more yards before it lands. And that's if you're standing at the 10, that means it's going to land at the 7 or deeper. Why are we fair catching a punt at the 5? What are we gaining from doing that? And then let's look at the other side of things, the jumping on a punt that then puts them in position to get points. The field goal that was blocked. Here's the worst part of that field goal being blocked, Grayson. They didn't even have field goal block on. They blocked that field goal with, in essence, 4 rushers.
Yeah. And the man that got it went completely untouched.
That is the type of stuff where I'm asking myself, what are you doing during special teams period? What is happening during special teams periods that we can't seem to cover any kicks? We can't seem to cover any punts. We can't seem to block effectively for field goal. We can't seem to effectively teach our returners, hey, at the end of the day, if you let that ball bounce, and again, heels at the 10, if you let that ball bounce at the 5, at least you're putting us with a chance that they screw up operations and then, we get it at the 20. But if you're trying to field it at the 5, you could fumble. Something could go wrong with your operations on it. Or best case scenario, you get it at the 5. Worst case scenario, if you let it bounce at the 5, you get it at the 1 instead. You lose 4 yards. Whoop-de-doo. You lose 4 versus potentially gaining 15. The math there ain't very hard. So there were multiple moments like that. And, of course, the uncalled offsides, which, that was a massive swing. Nobody can – I'm not going to sit here and say that if a Wolfpack fan feels like that call lost the game, I'm not mad at you for that. If anybody watches this game and says that game cost the game, I'm not mad at you for that. However, there were other chances to make up for it. There were multiple other chances to make up for it.
Yeah, we can get more into in-depth about that play specifically. I don't think we lost the game because of that play, but it is undeniable that the dynamic of that game shifted completely with that play. You had 40 seconds left going into halftime. If NC State scores a touchdown on that drive, you go up before half 27-14. You can't tell me that does not become a completely different ball game with the outlook in the second half. It changed everything.
Grayson, let's look at the direct effect of that play for a second, right?
Absolutely, yes.
If you properly call that, let's not even extrapolate on if the Wolfpack get a touchdown or anything like that. If you properly call that, it was 4th and 2. At 4th and 2, he jumps off sides. That rewards you a first down.
Correct.
And that was the part to me that was so confusing there, because at the end of the day, and this is the part that even with the announcer, I'm confused, because the announcer says it looks like they didn't have a play there. It looks like they were trying to draw Duke off sides and they were going to snap it if somebody jumps. And then he says, but VJ Anthony timed the snap perfectly. How can you time the snap perfectly if it's not going to be snapped unless someone jumps?
Yes. Yeah, and so John Murray here at the bottom of the screen says, I don't understand why they would snap the ball at all, knowing a timeout is coming. Exactly. And Dorn said this in the postgame. There was not a play called. That ball was not supposed to be snapped. To Kenton's point there was no snap to be timing correctly to jump over on.
But that's the point. When they jump, you snap the ball to get the offsides. Yes. The center recognized that somebody was clearly in the neutral zone and snapped the ball. And the thing that keeps blowing my mind, I'm never mad at the idea that one call does not ruin the game. I'm fine with that. I'm never mad at the idea of the refs didn't call it. Oh, well, so what? Just like how people say there's holding on every play, but the refs don't call it. Oh, well, so what? I'm fine with that. But the idea that people are going to try to keep gaslighting Wolfpack Nation saying he was not offside. We have the video. We have it in 4K of him clearly. There's a black line that the studio draws that is directly at the neutral zone. For those of you who don't know, the ball is the neutral zone. That's part of the reason why everybody hates the tush push, because the entire offensive line puts their helmets even with the ball, which is illegal. That is a neutral zone infraction on the offense. VJ here jumped and was in the neutral zone. The center moves the ball because he's in the neutral zone, and that is 5 yards. That's just what that is. So, like you said, Doran said it. The announcer said it. I've said it because I played football. I know what that looks like. And yet somehow the referees were the only ones who missed it. So, that is a massive swing to where even if we say NC State gets no points out of that drive, Grayson, what is the score going into half, even if NC State doesn't get a single point out of that drive because of that first down that happened?
It holds right there. If it held right there, it was 20-14 State.
That's a very different tone and tenor.
And guess what? It gets worse because the next time that CJ touched the ball, NC State was then down 28-20. A 14-point difference from the next time CJ had the ball in his hands. That is how big of a mistake that play was. So for Duke fans saying that play didn't define the game, it wasn't the reason we lost. But there is zero argument as to how it did not alter everything that took place after that. So just the mental mistakes in this game, ultimately, that is the umbrella concept to discuss. Special teams all night was bad. Catching the punt, or at least trying to catch the punt, would have been on our 2-yard line, fumbling that. I mean, to start that drive on our 1, and it ended up working out somehow. We went 99 yards in 16 plays. That's all fine and dandy, but that's an unacceptable mental error to be enduring. And I know Teddy Hoffman's a freshman. That's the epitome of a freshman mistake. but there's mistakes that look like freshman mistakes from people that are not freshmen last night.
Grayson,
and so
how did it happen twice? How did it happen the second time? After the first time, if I'm the special teams coach, which I know is Todd Goebel, I'm going up to all of my returners. I'm saying everybody, Duke Scott, everybody, Teddy Hoffman, everybody who could go in for one of those two, if they go down, get in here right now, all of you. New rule, which should have been a rule already, but apparently y'all don't know the rule. New rule. Yeah. Heels on the 10 for punts. Heels on the 10. That's what I've traditionally been told. Heels on the 10, and if it's over your shoulder at the 10, you let that thing bounce, and you let them figure it out. Because like you said, Grayson, you end up trying to field it, fumble it, and we end up recovering it at the 1. Let's just say you let that ball go over your head, and Duke perfectly executes it and downs it at the 1. You know what just happened? You got the same result without the possible outcome of them getting the ball back. That's it.
So we're going to get more in-depth now, or we're going to review the offensive and defense reviews against the Keys. This comes after a quick word from our sponsors. Stay with us. Our first live show sponsor is the Game Cap. Quick question for all of you college football fans out there. If you could go back in time and sit front row at your school's biggest rivalry game, what hat would you be wearing? Yes, that's right. I said hat. For me, actually us, it would be the Game. These aren't just hats. They're the same vintage style hats that fans wore back in the 80s and 90s. And guess what? They'll still go for the same price that they did back in the day. When you use code LOCKEDON, that's LOCKEDON, locked on, you can get these vintage style The Game caps for just $16.99. Head on over to thegamecaps.com, that is thegamecaps.com, and grab your team's classic bar or retro circle design using code LOCKEDON for an exclusive discount. Because legends, you already know, they wear the game. Middle portion here of our Sunday post-game live show. Again, this will also serve as our Monday episode. Now, let's now take some time and get into these offensive and defensive reviews against the Keys. We'll start, of course, on offense. First key was to start fast. We wanted an average of 4 points per drive over the first 3 drives of the game. Actually did accomplish this. We scored a touchdown on our first drive of the game. That was the 75-yard screen to Terrell Anderson. I cannot believe we wasted the Terrell Anderson game trademark. I mean, 166 receiving yards and 2 touchdowns. Shout out to TA. He was absolutely phenomenal, and I feel awful that we wasted a performance like that one. However, so we scored on the first drive of the game. We threw a pick on the second drive of the game, and then we scored another touchdown on the third drive of the game. So 14 points divided by 3 drives is 4.6 repeating. So 4.67 achieved that one. So 1 for 1. The second offensive key was for CJ Bailey to get some payback against Duke. Obviously that did not happen. We needed him to finish the game with a QBR of 75 plus. I had it and I lost it, but it was less than 75. I believe it was like 67 or 68. So did not hit that mark. 1 for 2. And our third offensive key was to establish the run. We need to average 5 yards per carry with 1 or less fumbles. CJ did fumble once on the failed read option, had to, struggle to keep it or give it, ended up in the middle, fumbled it away. That was a crucial mistake at that point of the game as well. But also we averaged 4.9 yards per carry. So we missed it by 0.1 as well. 1 for 3 on offense. Does that sound about right to you, Kent?
Absolutely. Because if we want to be honest about our running game, if you take away Hollywood's 2 very explosive runs, all of a sudden, those averages plummet. They go to the basement, right? And objectively speaking, Duke was stuffing the run all night long. We could not get much motion all night long until, again, Hollywood bust off 2 massive runs in very Hollywood fashion. So it to me, that's not a surprise. CJ Bailey, I want to have a very quick word with a lot of members of Wolfpack Nation about CJ Bailey and about this game overall. And we're going to go back to this at the end of the episode. Relax. He's a true sophomore. Yes, we saw amazing things from him in the first 3 games. Why are we surprised that there are going to be moments like this? Yes, he looked awful at times. Absolutely. That's still our QB1, and he still made enough plays to keep us in the game. I'm sorry to tell you, if my offense is putting up 33, I'm okay. I'm okay with that. Remember coming into the season when Grayson and I said this offense is going to have to average about 35 or so to win ball games, and people say, oh, there's no way that Doran offenses have never done that.
We did not lie. Proof in the pudding.
You get 33 and still lose by double digits. So I would not – CJ Bailey did not perform well. He could have performed a lot better. Other than the first two interceptions weren't on him at all. The first one, to me, that's a spectacular play by the defense. And as a receiver, you've got to extend and catch that thing away from your body. The second one, clearly offsides, whatever, it happens. The third one was on him, and the fumble was on him. Both of those two, I would say, hey, CJ, that's on you. You've got to be better. But if you're telling me through 4 games, my freshman quarterback is going to have, 3 turnovers, that I say that's on you, or a sophomore quarterback has 3 turnovers where I say that's on you, and we end up 3-1, the goal through these first 6 games was always 5-1 to 4-2. Am I correct or incorrect, Grayson? Was that not the target where we said you are successful if you come out of here with this? So we're still on pace to do that. CJ Bailey has still been playing phenomenal football. Everybody, breathe, stretch, shake. This team is fine. So 1 for 3 didn't really surprise me. Even with us putting up 33 points and sustaining some major drives, I knew that the reality was, with the way that Mensa and company were playing it, if our defense couldn't create turnovers, even coming into this game, before I saw a snap, if our defense could not create turnovers, I knew our offense was not going to have to be good, but great. And they were good, even very good in this one. They just weren't great.
Yeah, I mean, in addition to, I guess, wasting a Terrell Anderson game, we also wasted another great Hollywood Smothers performance. Now, I also do think that Duke had another solid defensive game plan for us. I thought at times they mixed up pretty solid looks for CJ to try and maneuver through. CJ's final line was 29 of 39 for 364, 2 passing touchdowns, but he did have 3 picks, 74% completion. So that mark is still a very good mark to be hovering around after 4 games of the season. But yeah, the costly mistakes, that is what continues to ring in my head after this game. And I know there's something to be said for, well, many of us kind of saw this as going to be, an uphill battle. Not many of us actually predicted to win this game, but it doesn't make it sting any less. Because in the first half and parts of the second half, I was watching this game. I'm like, NC State's the better team here. And I don't want that to denigrate Duke's effort. They tried to. I get all that. And Duke, ultimately, they took advantage of what they were given. That's how they won this game. But NC State, the mental mistakes here, if you can erase those, I think you win this game. And almost handily, in fact. If you can erase, I think the first pick that CJ threw, it was, in my opinion, I think it was a bad read. I threw it probably a little bit too late. Again, Duke made a good play on it, and they made it happen. The offsides, whatever you want to call it, non-call, call, I hate that there was no play called. Ultimately, it wasn't supposed to snap it. I get why it was snapped, but still, any way you want to shake it out, it's a mental mistake, and it cost us another shot at a touchdown there. The last pick, just a bad read. So that's going to kill you every time. 4 turnovers against Duke. That I keep coming back to that. We saw Duke actually suffer this the other way when they played Illinois and even against Tulane. And we talked about how important it would be in this game for NC State to take care of the football and make Duke make the mistakes. I know it's frustrating we lost, but to see how we lost, it's this is what we were talking about. The defense, which we'll talk about in just a second, this is what we're talking about. And so it just makes it that much more frustrating because this is exactly the way we did not want to see this thing fall apart for us. So 1 for 3 on offense. Let's switch gears now and look at the defense. The first defensive key, no returns to sender. We want to eliminate any kick returns or punt returns past the 50-yard line. To my knowledge, I don't think Duke had any, but probably because they just used the offense anyway to get whatever they wanted. So I believe we did achieve that one. Anyone wants to fact check me on that, you can, but I think we got that one. The second key was to play a complete game and hold Duke to 20 or less points. They doubled that mark and some. They finished with 45 points. The 3rd and 4th down conversions that Duke was able to achieve in this game were absolutely killer. The long run from Castle there, which was the dagger play. They had a 4th and 2 pass, which a tight end kind of snuck out, went completely uncovered. That was miserable. I know that Kean Sloan had an injury, and you can't expect the guy to do everything, but it felt like a defense that was missing their best players. And so The defense, it looked like Swiss cheese yet again. And I know we've talked about this a million times and how we anticipated the offense having to carry the load. Unfortunately, though, and I know I tweeted this in the Wake Forest game before they pitched a shutout in the second half, but this defense, it looks even worse than I was hoping that we'd get up to this point of the season. It looks like there's just so many more deficiencies than I'd hope we'd have to endure. And so that raises a lot of red flags. When the offense is great and they can score 30-plus a game, yeah, that's something to be positive about. But if the defense can't get off the field on third down, how many times we've already said that in 4 games so far this season? If you can't get off the field on fourth down, if you can't force turnovers, if you can't execute basic run fits, you're going to continue to see games like this where you're giving up 40, 45. Pray to God not 50-plus, but at the range we're going right now, who knows what Miami or Florida State could do. We'll touch on that later on down the road. But to give up 45 points to Duke, when you felt like you probably were the better team, it is entirely frustrating. So missed that one. The third and final defensive key was to make Mensah make mistakes, and you were not able to do that either. He would have forced 2+ turnovers, 3 touchdowns, no interceptions for Darian Mensah, threw for 269 yards on the night, 19 of 28. Credit where credit is due. He played a good game. He didn't make mistakes. Duke won the football game. So 1 for 3 on defense. What are your thoughts there, Kenton?
I mean, am I surprised by this? Grayson, you just said 1 for 3 on defense and 1 for 3 on offense as well, correct?
Yeah, 2 for 6.
Okay. So this is the first time we have not completed at least half of the keys this season, right?
Correct.
And this is our first loss, right?
Correct. Checks out.
Yeah, checks out. Checks out. At the end of the day, Darian Mensah played a very clean game. He did not throw a ton of interceptable balls. You have to, like you said, tip your cap. Tip your cap. He did a fantastic job. And Duke's offensive line, they exerted their will on our front 7, especially late in the game. There's no way around that. There's no way to say, hey, we were getting great pressure on Mensah without blitzing for a majority of the game. We didn't. There's no way to say, oh, yeah, going down the stretch when we needed a stop and we knew they were going to run the ball, we got that stop. It is very frustrating to me because we're going to have a locked on look of the week that goes into this. But I'm very briefly going to tell you what the problem with this third down defense is. It's 2 things. Number 1, we know that this defense has limitations. We know that. There are certain players that just have certain limitations where we're like, as much as I want to say, wow, that guy's bad in coverage. We know that. We know that that's who he has historically been, not pointing out any specific player in this instance, just saying we know that we don't have a bunch of All-Americans on defense. We know that Peyton Wilson, Drake Thomas, Isaiah Moore, we know that they're not walking through that door putting on those the red and white. We know that Bradley Chubb and BJ Hill and Justin Jones, we know Mario Williams is not walking through that door. We know that. Same thing on the back end. We don't have a Dave Emerson. We don't have what Aiden White looked like his junior year. We don't have that in this secondary. So at no level do we have the type of guys that we would say, and this is not saying we don't have good players on defense. I'm saying we don't have complete units of players to look at and say like, hey, these guys can all do everything, or these guys can all do what they're specialized in to such a high level that, for example, the Legion of Boom, they ran cover 3 all the time. Every team knew if you're playing the Legion of Boom, they're going to run cover 3. Richard Sherman's only going to play on the right side of the field. What are you going to do about it? We don't have guys that are good enough to do that. So, it is what it is defensively. Offensively, I mean, hey, I'm never going to fault you for 33, especially 33 with some long fields because of our defensive special teams. And you still found a way to have – we had multiple 90-plus yard drives in this game.
We did.
Multiple.
Think about that.
If you tell me my offense has to drive over 180 yards in 2 drives and gets me touchdowns for both, that needs to spell out a win. Needs to spell out a win. And it did not. It did not, because defensively and special teams, it was a comedy of errors. But at the end of the day, like I said, about the third downs and about the defense in general, We knew that the deficiencies were going to be there. So we can't come in now and act surprised and say we're shocked and say this team is horrible and so much worse than we thought based on things that we knew coming in. Grayson and I said this. We heard about some injuries that were coming out of camp and coming out of spring ball, said, that guy's going to need to get healthy right away. He's going to be important to this rotation for this position. Or, hey, this guy. So, it to me is kind of a moot point to argue, oh my God, our defense is so terrible when nobody was expecting it to be good coming in.
Yeah. In fact, as I said, and I don't say this to throw anyone in the mud, but it's even worse than I thought it would be. And so it's like when the expectations were low already, it's not surprising, but it is so much more frustrating to watch it go down like that. Last point here before we move forward. Think about all these stats I'm about to read you, and then think about the final score. Ready? Total yards. NC State had over 100 more of those than Duke had. Pass yards. NC State had almost 100 more of those as well. Rushing yards. NC State had nearly 30 more. Penalties. NC State had 2 less for nearly 60 less yards. NC State had 4 more first downs than Duke. NC State was actually better, believe this or not, in third down conversions on the night. NC State was 7 of 12. Duke was 5 of 12. Average yards per play. NC State had 7.2. Duke was 6.6. Average yards per rush. NC State 4.9. Duke 4.3. Time of possession. NC State had the ball for about 5 more minutes than Duke did. Turnovers. NC State committed 4. Duke 0. Think about how loud that just rang in your ear. Sacks. NC State had 3. Duke only 2. TFLs. NC State had 8. Duke only 7. All of those stats, NC State was the better team except for turnovers. And then you lump in the special teams play and the third down execution on defense. This was, believe me when I tell you, this was a deserved loss. And this was basically, I said this in the opening statement, this is like the culmination of all my worries that I saw in the first 3 games. This is what it looks like when it snowballs on you. And so, again, this is what happens. Duke was, I still believe that Duke is a good team. From what I saw on Saturday, I think NC State's a better team. But if you are the team that takes advantage of the mistakes, one team's going to win, one team's going to lose. We saw who was who on Saturday in Durham. So 45-33 loss. Coming up next, we're going to get into our big picture takeaways before we move about our week. This comes after a quick word from our sponsors. Our second post-game live here on Sunday, the ad read is FanDuel. The NFL season is here. FanDuel's making sure that you're ready all season long with can't-miss offers. Right now, new customers can bet just $5. If that $5 bet wins, you'll get $300 back in bonus bets guaranteed. It's quick, it's easy, it's simply the best way to add just a little bit more energy to all of your Sundays. It makes every game more exciting, whether you're watching your team or just keeping an eye on your fantasy lineups. So, if you're ready to play, download the FanDuel app now by visiting FanDuel.com in order to get started. That's FanDuel.com in order to place your first $5 bet. If it wins, that's $300 back in bonus bets guaranteed. FanDuel.com in order to get started today. Our third post-game live sponsor is Square. There are certain businesses that truly make the neighborhood feel like home. Whether it's the local sports bar packed on game days or the coffee shop that knows your order by heart, these are the places that bring people together. When you're supporting your community, it doesn't just support the business, it supports the people behind it and the community around it. These local spots that I just referenced, they're what make the neighborhood feel like home. The people in it, that is what makes the community. Square is a proud partner of more than 4 million neighborhood businesses around the world. You can go to square.com/go/LockedOnCollege in order to learn more. But before you do, go support your local neighborhood spot. You'll be happy you did. Square, see you in the neighborhood. Last couple minutes of our Sunday post game. Again, this will also serve as our Monday show. Big picture takeaways, 45-33 loss. The first loss of the year, also the first ACC loss of the year for the Wolfpack. Kenton, I'll let you kick this off. Your big picture takeaways from Saturday in Durham.
I know this is going to sound crazy, and I know people are going to be very upset with me when I say this, but I'm okay with that. I walk away from this game more optimistic than this team than I was coming in, because this team did so many good things. And so many things went wrong that I think are the exception, not the rule. For example, there are things that happened in this game that Grace and I talked about is like, hey, this has been who this team has been. Special teams errors, that has been who this team has been. Not being able to get off the field on 3rd and 4th down, that has been who this team has been. However, there are multiple things that I look at and I have to get excited. Dave is no longer calling plays conservatively. He is not allowing it. Him and Roper, I don't know what has happened. I don't know what's gotten into Dave. I don't know if somebody told him he has 90 days left to live and he's got to coach for his life or something, but he is no longer calling it safe, calling it, you look at how many times we've gone for it on 4th this season. It has been immensely more in terms of the boldness that we've seen as compared to before. And you look at what this offense has done so far. They have been prolific. They have gotten it done at a high clip. And yes, CJ Bailey had a terrible game. In his terrible game, he still had moments and flashes where you're like, that's who we expect. And the running game was as ineffective as I have seen it this season. And yet there were still moments where you sit up there and say, man, danger in every snap with this running game. So yeah. I walk away from this game more optimistic than before because the defense is who I thought they were. They may be worse than Grayson thought they were going to be. This is about what I saw happen. To me, I have played college football at a high level, and being a Cass Tech alum, I've seen guys who have played on national championship teams. I've watched their teams all year, rooted for them, and been excited for them. Watched guys who went on to play in the playoffs, New Year's Six Bowls, all that. I've seen it. I know what a good defense looks like and what the components are. And I knew coming in, there's going to be some games like this one. There's going to be some games where we give up 40, darn near 50. I knew that was coming. So I don't walk away from this game dejected or surprised about that. And having Teddy as your punt returner, this is not to call out Teddy at all. You have a true freshman at punt return. He makes a mistake once. It clearly is not relayed to him. This is the rule. I love you, brother, but if you break this rule again, you got to come out. You got to come out. We can't put you back there no more. You're a liability at that point. I look at this game, and I say to myself, a lot of Wolfpack Nation is saying, oh, this is it. Our season's over. I'm out on Doran. Well, let me ask you, were y'all expecting this to be an undefeated season or you were out on Doran?
Yeah, exactly.
Because if that was the case, you were never in. And I'm not, and again, y'all know me. I'm not a Doran defender. I have talked about the things that are like, hey, this is who he is, and I don't think it'll ever get better. I've talked about those. I've talked about the fact that he may be the guy who ends up with all the records, but is not the guy to take us to the promised land. I've talked about that. But what I will not sit up here and say is, after one loss in the season that I said the ceiling is 8 wins, is that still not in front of you? Much like we said a few years ago after, oddly enough, I believe it was after another loss to Duke. I said every game in front of us is winnable and every game in front of us is losable. And then we go on to win out at that point. I'm telling you the same thing this year. I don't see a single game in front of us where I'm like, there is no way under God's green earth. I don't see one. I honestly and truly do not. Defense needs to be more optimistic. They need to be coaching in, hey, we will not get stops 1-for-1 against most of the upper half offenses in the conference. We just won't. But you know what we can do? Come up with a couple turnovers. Come up with a couple timely turnovers that now make it to where if you get, Grayson, 2 turnovers in this game does what for NC State? If you take away 2 of Duke's drives, scoring drives, turn them into turnovers, what then happens, right? You're looking at something very different. So I'm looking at this and I'm saying to myself, hey, this is a team that is still on the track that I had projected for them. Yes, you have some games coming up that are going to be tough. But at the end of the day, we are calling this season over because you lose a game that a lot of people had us losing coming into the season. That's nonsensical. You're out on this team because of one. Listen, I love me some Will Wade. I'm ready for some red reckoning as much as anybody, okay? I'm not even a basketball guy. This is the most excited I've been about men's basketball in quite some time rolling through here. And yet and still, I'm not giving up on this team because they are who I thought they were coming into the season, and the offense is even better. The offense is looking like that team that could win 8 or more. Now, if we see multiple games like this, if this starts to become a pattern and a trend where we're looking up after Virginia Tech saying a rudderless ship came into Raleigh and beat us, all right, now that's a different conversation. That's a very different conversation. But this game here, it's one game. It wasn't ideal. Obviously, you want to come away with a win, but at least now, guys sometimes have the tendency to go tone deaf when you're telling them to fix things after a win. Those ears perk up a little bit when you say, oh, so now we see why we can't do certain things in the return game. Now we see why blocking on a field goal is so important. Now we see why when it is third down, your run fit and you being in your gap is essential. Now you see it, right? Oh, okay.
Yeah, I reference Nick Saban a lot on this show because I think he is not only the greatest to ever do it, but he's wise, I think, beyond a lot of people, their listening comprehension. What he always has said that he was much harder on those Alabama teams after a win than a loss because he can't allow that team to get complacent. And they can learn more, even in a win, than they can in a loss by knowing the right things to apply from week to week. And so in this game for NC State, the issues that I saw far more issues that are fixable than non-fixable. The special teams blunders, whether that's getting a block kick or, missing an extra point or trying to catch a punt on your own 2 and then you fumble that around, you mess up the whole drive. I know we scored, but that's not the point. The special teams errors are fixable. They're mental mistakes. They are fixable. And so above all else, when it comes to coaching, that is the biggest problem I had in this game, in addition to some of the defensive mishaps as well. But I don't look at this game and say, well, classic Doeren loss. Here we go again. Man can't get it done. I actually don't put virtually any of this loss on Doeren, to be completely honest. So I know how it goes. Every time you lose a game, it's like, Doeren this, Doeren that. Can we get him out of here? You're year 13. This is not a Doeren thing. This is far more execution errors on the players. Like CJ, he didn't play a good game. He made a couple very, very costly mistakes in this game. Did we lose because of CJ? No, it was a team effort. Did we lose because of Doeren? Certainly not. There's so many things that I did see in this game that are fixable. And so we're going to have to keep an eye on that moving forward because those are the same worries that we had in the first 3 games, even though we won those games. It's going to be week to week. And we told you this all off season. You're going to be looking at shootouts. This was another one, virtually the 4th shootout of the year. We told you they were coming. And so even though, I predicted this would be a loss, I just had a weird feeling that this is not going to go well for us. Ultimately, it didn't. You can only kind of be so disappointed, but I'm disappointed in a sense of like, it's like a clairvoyant person. Like they can see the car crash coming and they can't quite like stop it from happening. That's kind of like what this felt like. I didn't like this matchup for State. I didn't like the opportunity that Duke had to get some get right. It kind of felt like we were almost due for a stinker, if that makes sense. Like when you play with fire for so long, you know how the rest of that statement goes. So it's a disappointing loss. It's not the end of the year. It's not the end of the year. We're 3-1. You have a really good chance to go 5-1, even though I know it's one game at a time. Don't look ahead of Virginia Tech. Certainly not because they're rudderless ship now, but you still have everything that you want to accomplish. It's still in front of you. The season did not end on September the 20th or whatever it was, September 20th. It did. Nobody's season, except for maybe Clemson, their season's definitely over. NC State's season did not end on September 20th. So I know it sucks. I know it's frustrating. What is true actually is Duke. They own Dave Doeren now. He's what, 1-4? He's 1-4 against Duke. That part stings for sure. And we've not beat Duke in our once in our last 6 tries. That's embarrassing. If you want to be embarrassed about that. Because I don't think the overall effort, there's a lot of good, there's some bad, you lose the game. But that is what the most embarrassing point is for me. For some reason, we can't beat Duke. And that really stings me. But the season's not over. You can't fire Doeren on September the 21st. That's not how this thing works. Pick up the pieces, learn what you need to apply next week, and keep this thing moving. Again, you can go 5-1. At the midpoint of the year, that's the second best outcome that we could have predicted for this team to be. It was either 6-0 or 5-1. If we told you ahead of the season beginning, we're going to be through 6 weeks and be 5-1, who would be pissed? Virtually no one. Everybody'd say, yeah, I'd take that. Is it the Duke loss? Did we lose at Duke? Probably. Okay. You know what? 5-1, we'll roll with that. That's on the table. So don't bury your head in the sand now. Don't give up now. Don't punt on the season now. This team's going to get back in the lab. They're going to prepare for Virginia Tech. It's going to be a great home environment. It's back to work. So don't give up now. I know it sucks. I'm frustrated. Kenton's frustrated. Everyone who watched that game, we felt that NC State was the better team, and you let one get away. That's life sometimes, and it stings. So 45-33 loss. My umbrella, big picture takeaway is there's still more on the table, but the mistakes I saw, they are fixable mistakes for the grand majority of things. The defense, I mean, you're going to get what you get. You got to hope that the offense can carry the load, and they could have, minus some mistakes on Saturday. It is what it is. So 45-33 loss in Durham. NC State is now 3-1 on the season. Thank you all for joining us. I know it's Sunday. I know there's NFL going on. Thank you for joining us on our Sunday post-game live. Again, this is our Monday show, so if you've seen us on Sunday, you're going to see us again on Monday. This will be our Monday show. Thank you all for joining us. Be sure to hit that like button. Drop your comments in the comment box. Tell us what your big picture takeaway is from this 45-33 loss in Durham. And again, mash that subscribe button if you have not already. We'll catch you back here on Tuesday for more. Next show will be our Tuesday show. Until then, go Pack.
Go Pack.